the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
The passer call I've ever seen in my entire life on Jalen Walker. Did you see that one? Georgia
that was a really bad one. Yes,
Georgia gets a third down stop, like deep in Kentucky territory on a perfect spear, like not leading with the helmet, right to the quarterback's midsection. Like, what are we doing here?
I agree. That was pretty bad. Switching gears here, Tennessee. They blow out. The numbers are just unbelievable. For Tennessee against Kent State, they try like. If Tennessee, Nico couldn't even make it through the second quarter before the Dogs are called off here for Tennessee. They could have scored 140, I think, if they wanted to. It could have been those old Cumberland versus School X scores from in the 1920s. It was wild, Matt Green.
Let me jump in here. I'm glad you brought that up because after watching this game, I'm convinced that Georgia Tech Cumberland never happened. That's completely false, made up folklore. This team was up. If this team would have scored 37 points every quarter, it would have been 148 points.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, no one can score points faster than Tennessee was scoring points in this first quarter. It's not possible. They didn't even throw in the onside kick. I don't know what kind of sportsmanship that is. No, but like,
well,
so
it was actually a look. It was an audible. The kicker had an audible. Like, so if Kent State gave a look like that, where they opened up, if you watch the alignment of Kent State on that return, it was just right there. So it's just to get reps in, and they were like, all right, we're going to try it. And then you just
do it. I'm here for it. But yeah, so if that pace would not have added up to 222 points, as far as I'm concerned, that's impossible.
Yeah.
But I'll let you, that was my first takeaway, but go ahead.
No, it was wild because no SEC team has scored 70 since Ole Miss in 2015. The Daily Beacon had some really good stuff on here, the student newspaper at Tennessee. It was the most in the quarter, most in this era.
Has scored 70.
Yeah.
Multiple teams scored 70 this year.
No. No SEC team has scored above 70 since Ole Miss in 2015.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure. Didn't Auburn score 70 like week 1 versus?
No, I don't think so.
Ole Miss scored 70. Like I thought earlier this.
I don't think so.
Earlier this year. No,
I don't think they hit 70.
Am I off?
I don't think they hit 70. Let's see here.
There has to be some sort of first half record. They said.
Oh, they did get 76. Okay, they did.
There you go.
Maybe it's just Tennessee. Maybe that one's just Tennessee.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to call you out like that.
No, sorry. That's not even like it was from. I don't know. But Tennessee, according to the SEC Network, this also from the Beacon, Tennessee 65 first half points were the most in a half by any team in the last 20 seasons. That was like while they were doing it. I don't know if it's even further because they were like that's just where the ESPN stats and info was.
Where the stats. I would like to see a first half. Someone do that.
65 first half points. And it could have been worse. Matt Green. Kent State went 3 and out over and over again. They kept fumbling over the head of the quarterback on the first 3 possessions for Kent State. One of them resulted in a safety. This was brutal all across the board. On threes, Jesse Simonton said, quote, "This was domination rarely seen in D1 football. The Vols had close to 300 yards in the first quarter and finished with a 740 to 112 yardage advantage with a whopping 9 touchdowns." Nico didn't, again, one of the things that should scare a lot of teams here when talking about, and I understand people just keep making it's Chattanooga, it's Kent State. Look across FBS. There are so many schools that play with their fruit. Alabama struggling against South Florida. There are teams that do not do what Tennessee did to 2 schools. No schools are doing what Tennessee did to a top 25 team in a neutral site game the previous week to NC State. That was a 51-10 game, and that could have been worse if Tennessee wanted to make it worse. One of the things that should be very, very scary for opposing defenses or opposing coaches down the stretch here for Tennessee. Nico has, the last 2 weeks, it hasn't been the cleanest, and he still makes these throws. He had that Chris Brazzell 50-yard bomb down the right side, perfectly thrown in stride. It was a dart, and Tennessee Obviously goes heavy 12 personnel last week against NC State, and then they open it back up this week. Dylan Sampson had like 4 touchdowns in the first quarter this one, because you wondered if there was going to be a drop-off from Jalen to Dylan this season. There's no drop-off. Dylan's actually better. He's more versatile than what you had with Wright, and Wright's an NFL back, and Wright was awesome. Nico's going to continue to get better. He's just, the poise is there. The pass pro wasn't great in this game, and it didn't really matter. Nico was taking some hits that I don't love that he's still taking in this game, but the defense is just overwhelming. The front seven, Keenan Peely is playing his tail off, though. They're rotating so much in the front seven that these guys are all fresh. Like, they're playing 20 snaps last night. Like, they're not having to burn a lot of guys through these first 3 weeks going to Oklahoma. The line for Oklahoma, Matt Green, has already moved up to 7.5, I think, on FanDuel. Oklahoma's favored not long ago. And the line just keeps growing for Tennessee. And I think one of the things you're seeing, ESPN, the numbers are starting to really like what Tennessee is doing. They move up to number 4 in Football Power Index. I'm curious where they are in S&P Plus. Bill Connolly sat on ESPN this week. But Tennessee is obliterating people while playing B+ offense and A+ defense. There's going to be a point where Tennessee is playing A+ offense, and with this defense having the kind of ceiling that it has, and the kind of, just depth in that front seven, is got to be terrifying, because this is the most complete group in the country right now. Like, there's just not a better overall team in the country through 3 weeks than what we're seeing from Tennessee, because Tennessee is just dominating. There's nothing else they can do through 3 weeks. Like, it's just, they are passing every test, and we'll see what it looks like in Norman next Saturday for Josh Heupel's homecoming. But man,
college game day.
I can't wait for this game next week, but I can't say enough about how you should not, if you're a Vol fan listening to this, you should not take this for granted, this level of dominance. Vanderbilt just went to Georgia State and lost after they were feeling good for a little bit. It's not guaranteed. Auburn loses at home last week in embarrassing fashion in year 2 for the Hugh Freeze era. Like, Tennessee is rolling all across the board right now, and they're just, it's just scary. Like, Tennessee has not been this scary on both sides of the ball in a very, very long time. And it's an exciting time. It's okay to be like in that category where I'm like, man, I'm glad that Tennessee does not play Ole Miss and Texas in the regular season this year, but you get Alabama at home. That's good. Florida is a train wreck. Oklahoma has not looked good out of the gate. Arkansas barely survives against UAB this weekend. They're on the schedule. Mississippi State gets blown out by Toledo. They're on your schedule at the end of the year. UTEP's on your schedule. Vandy, like I said, just lost. You look at the schedule, Georgia looks as gettable as they've been in the last 5 years of the Kirby Smart era. I don't know. I'm not saying Tennessee is winning all of these games, but what I am saying is, if you're still looking at just, hey, Tennessee, I need to see more. I need to see if they, it's like, I get that, but you also have to take into account what they've done through 3 weeks. You have to take into account the kind of quarterback that Nico Iamaleava is, and what we have seen on tape through 4 games. You have to take into account what Tennessee is doing in their front seven. It translated against NC State. It will translate throughout the course of this season. Is they have so many dudes, and we're able to rotate so many bodies on Saturday night. It should be scary, because that defense is not going anywhere. The scoring defense is not going anywhere. The rush defense is not going anywhere. It's the Tennessee's ability to run the football. Deshaun Bishop's averaging, their running back 2 is averaging 10 yards a carry through 3 weeks. Like, Tennessee is running the ball down people's throats through 3 weeks. That's actually been more of the defining trait for Tennessee, is as good as Nico's been, Tennessee's run the ball extremely well. And I just think some of these things with the offense and with the passing game is going to get better. This is just a double-digit win team. This is a college football playoff team. Like, there's just, I don't know what else to say. Barring injuries, which changes things, Tennessee is one of the best teams in college football this year, and I think it's okay to just say that. That doesn't mean, I don't know if they'll be that in November, but I know right now Tennessee is one of the 4 best teams in college football right now. It's Tennessee, it's Georgia, it's Alabama, and it's Texas. Like, until Ohio State proves some stuff to me, they're kind of on the outside looking in, but I think those are the main 4, and we'll see.
That's the thing, is I don't know what Tennessee has proved. Like, through 3 weeks, I feel like Tennessee has as high of grade as anyone in the country, right?
Mhm.
For like all 3 of their tests. They got a 99% on all of them. I guess this has to be 100. You got 100. You aced this one. But it's still Kent State. You know, he still got Chattanooga. Chattanooga just put 3 points on Mercer, I think, this past week. Like Kent State, you know, maybe the worst team in all of FBS. So
Chattanooga almost beat Georgia State last week, though.
And Georgia State is good. Is that?
I don't know. I mean, Georgia State just beat Vanderbilt. College football is weird.
Is Vanderbilt good? I don't know. But yeah, you're right. Obviously, the whole A is greater than B is greater than C. That's not always apply in college football. But yeah, Tennessee, without a doubt, looks like a juggernaut. But I think next week, and obviously NC State has they struggled with Louisiana Tech this past week. So I don't know what to expect from any of these teams so far. NC State is definitely the clearest data point on the resume so far. But yeah, I think this trip to Norman, Oklahoma, I think this is where this is what people have been waiting for to see, you know, how legit this team. And it's not like Oklahoma is necessarily a college football playoff team. We're talking about 6-7 college football playoff teams in the SEC, and Oklahoma's not one of them. But I think still going on the road in Norman, I think that's just going to be a hostile environment. And I mean, if you see them put up another 50 spot, then I think you can seriously start to overreact to this. Maybe it's not even overreacting at that point. That Tennessee might be, you know, the best team in college football. But until then, I just can't get excited about the 70-point cupcake wins. You know, it's like you look at Missouri, what are they, 89-0 or something like that in their first 2 games, and it's like they're in a dogfight with Boston College. That comes down to the wire in Missouri. That's a good win. Like, I think that's a solid Boston College team. But it's just I don't know. Let's just take. I don't even know how to evaluate Ole Miss right now. Like, they're just playing nobodies. So we'll see.
I mean,
who they played yesterday. Yesterday
Wake.
Was a more impressive performance.
It's like 40-6 against Wake, and Wake canceled
Wake Forest team.
They canceled the home and home. Do you see that? After the Wake's not going to Ole Miss next year. They paid the $1 million to not play next year.
Wow.
They're like, we're good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what's funny is like Ole Miss, I think, is going to have a huge drop off. Like they're losing so much, and it's not like they're lighting it up in the high school recruiting aspect of it. So I don't know. I feel like they're a great sleeper pick for 2024 Florida State next year. Like the Ole Miss, like Lane Kiffin might not be there. We'll get into that. I don't know. I think that might be a little bit presumptuous by Wake to get out of that game, because I don't think Ole Miss is going to be what they are next year, but we shall see.
It's also what is it gonna like ruin your reputation? Wake Forest, is that gonna like make you look bad as a football program? Like what? What? I guess Ole Miss is probably better now than they were when you scheduled it, but like you weren't better than them when you scheduled it, so I don't know. That's weird.
Next up, Matt Green. Let's go to A&M. They stomped Florida. This was brutal. For Billy Napier and company, booed going into the tunnel after this game. There was a lightning delay in this one. It was brutal. There was like their late night reporting on like there's a board meeting scheduled or something for Florida today. It's over. Like, this is going to get worse for Florida down the stretch here, but I also just think the Ducks are not in a row to make a move. I mean, I don't think Scott Strickland, I don't think Florida fans want Scott Strickland to make his third hire, college football coaching hire at Florida. They don't have a president right now. I don't know. Like, I think in a normal situation where, I think the circumstances surrounding Billy Napier and just where Florida's at make this a little bit more complicated than just the average, like, pay the buyout and let's move on type deal. But I don't know. I thought I picked A&M to win this game, but I mean, this was ugly, Matt Green. And Florida, it's bad. And it's going to get, we talked about like how rare it is that even in down years to get to 3-9, 2-10 territory. UCF at home. I forgot who.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas podcast. Hell yeah.